This video is brought to you by Vincero.
Hey, brother! And welcome everyone to our spoiler Avengers Endgame review. There are spoilers in this review. You have been warned. If you haven't seen it, I encourage you to go see it.
Before we get started, I have to say that this movie in particular to me feels like a cinematic cultural experience.
Milestone, yeah.
Right, like this is something where I feel like you'll remember your first watch of it because it is 21 movies deep going into it.
And this
all
is the
building
22nd.
together. It is a cultural phenomenon. So
Right.
today I am so excited to dig in and talk
Right.
Avengers Endgame.
Let's go.
Before we dive into the review, we need to give a huge thank you to today's sponsor, Vincero Watches.
Yeah, today Ben and I, you'll notice, are sporting the Cairo mesh band watches, which look super sleek, and you can adjust to just be one size all the time.
To get 15% off your entire order, you can just go to vincerowatches.com/SCB, use promo code SCB. Also today I want to talk about the new line of bracelets that they have. I got one for Alice and she absolutely loves it. The rose gold matches up perfectly with the rose gold of the watch, and these are really cool, super affordable, and make fantastic Mother's Day presents.
Yeah, so if you are like me and always forget to get something and you're like, you want to get something nice for your mom, this is a great option because it's super affordable and looks really good.
If you guys want to get 15% off your entire order, go to vincerowatches.com/SCB and use promo code SCB.
Endgame. Oh my gosh, I feel like it's all I've really been able to think about all week is just the hype surrounding this movie, just because exactly what you just said. We're like 22 movies deep, and this is the end of this giant phase of the MCU. So like, yeah, love it or hate it, like it is a cultural phenomenon.
Yeah.
This does not happen often.
No.
Or it has ever.
Right, like this is something that like collectively has the world's attention. And you say for the past week, like going into this movie, my greatest fear was like, since Infinity War,
yeah.
I am pretty sure I have thought about this every single day. And like
Yeah.
my greatest concern was that I was going to lose a best friend that was like my ability to mow the lawn and think about like what's going to happen.
What's going to happen
It's like
in Infinity War.
it gave me something to spend so much time thinking about, and
Right.
I have just loved it. So for me, walking into this movie, I don't know that the stakes could have ever been higher, both for the characters in the movie and for my own expectations.
Right, like your expectations are all really it had to really deliver on so many levels.
Right.
For like the payoff to be there. I guess the question is, did it?
Did it?
Did it?
Oh my gosh. Well, I have so many thoughts, and I feel like last night we were at the movies we've only seen it one time so far. We should go ahead and say that up front because I'm sure that we will get some things not quite right because it's just 3 hours.
There's 3 hours of, yeah.
But so we of course work in an office that like spends all of its time talking about exactly these things.
Yeah.
We saw the movie with 12 people, all of whom like we walk out of the theater and everybody was like asking thoughts and questions and all that. And I'm like, I have not said a word out loud about this to anyone.
Because you just want it all right
I want
here.
it all here. Like I didn't want to talk about anything. I didn't want to say how I reacted to anything. It was sort of like, you'll have to watch. You'll have to see. And I would start by saying that I think that this movie contains by far my favorite MCU moments.
Yeah.
But I am also highly critical of it.
Are you really?
I am.
Interesting.
And it has been fascinating because we walked out of the theater, everybody we were with was like sobbing and crying, and like everybody was like talking about things they loved, and I'm sitting there like silently disagreeing.
Oh, interesting. I'm so excited to get into this with you.
I have a feeling I'm going to lose some friends today over some of my thoughts on this.
Oh, interesting. I'm interested what your motivation is for it. So the movie itself is totally an emotional roller coaster
100%,
all the way through.
yes.
I mean, they do a really good job of like making you really sad, and then there's some action. And I would say one of the things I really liked is that Marvel movies they really for a while dipped into this zone where every serious moment was like undercut with a joke.
Sure.
And they would pull up the rug. And I think they did a really good job in this movie of finding a way to have a serious moment and then lighten the mood just after, but without pulling it out from that moment.
Right.
Like they would like have that moment, let it happen, and then they'd cut to like a different part of the world and be like open on some hilarious rocket quote, and you'd be like, oh yeah, this is so funny.
We're still having a good time. It's not all just tears and sobbing, right? With of course, I feel like the famous one we always talk about is like Doctor Strange finally getting,
that's the worst
the cape, and then it like slaps him, and
you're like
what?
That was like his moment.
Right,
come on, cape.
Like, everything built up to this particular, and then it's like undercut. So we can start by like addressing like a major thing that happens in this movie. And I will tell you that when I first saw Thor Ragnarok, I was also super critical of it, and the more I watched it, the more I absolutely loved it. The amount of humor and how it's used in this movie caught me off guard in a way that I didn't like.
Really?
Yeah.
You thought it was too funny?
Not that it was too funny, but like at times I felt like if it was on SNL, like Saturday Night Live, I would love it. You know, it's like the Star Killer Base Undercover Boss edition with Kylo Ren. It's like, I love watching that because it's so well done, and it's like, it does take everything out of its context, and it's fun to like enjoy it. But when it is like actual canon information, it's like,
okay, let me ask you, there's two scenes in particular as you're bringing this up that I'm thinking maybe piqued this annoyance for you. One, perhaps, was it the Hulk taking selfies?
Absolutely.
And then two, when they are listing off all the other time travel movies.
Oh no, that didn't bother me. I thought it was good the way that. Well, I'll come back to time travel, but I thought that was fine. The Hulk. Okay, we can start with the Hulk just because you said it.
Yeah.
But the Bruce Banner being sort of this like tweener Hulk phenomenon, like I sort of get the arc that's involved there. Like you've sort of had Bruce not in control of it and then kind of in control of it, and like what you're supposed to be seeing.
Hulk's in control for a while.
Yeah, Hulk's in control. Right. So you've sort of seen it go like to the extremes in both directions, and it's all sort of narrowed into like in Infinity War it was neither really, and then in this one it's both. I didn't love it because it felt like we were being introduced to an entirely new Bruce Banner character.
Yeah.
And it was like, while that's fine and it could have been interesting like in other capacities, it's sort of like you get to the finish line and we are all of a sudden introduced to, and right out of the gate too.
Yeah.
To this brand new version of him that's sort of like lighthearted and eating burritos and tacos and stuff, and it's like,
I agree. The introduction was a little weird because, well, it's not even right out of the gate. Right out of the gate, he's still in the Hulkbuster thing when they go to visit.
Oh, sure, that's right. It's after the 5 years.
Yeah, so it's 5 years later, and then you just introduce to him, and like everyone sort of looks like they're suffering, and he's like, "Yeah, look at me, I'm great. What's up?"
Right.
Yeah, I would agree because, I don't know, I was also leaned in really heavy to the, like, oh, is he Loki thing?
Right.
And then I was leaning on that up until the moment the Ancient One punches Bruce out of him, and I was like, I don't think it's Loki.
Yeah, it like, seems like that would have revealed it.
That would have been the moment, although I would have loved that if she did that and all of a sudden Loki was like, what? And you were like,
that would have been crazy.
But it's okay. I'm fine with how they handled Loki. We can talk about that in a minute.
Yeah.
But
so there was that. Like I thought Bruce was a little bit strange.
Well, you didn't get to, like, they've been building up to his transition into like reconciling with the Hulk.
Right.
But you didn't see it. It's just like 5 years later, I reconciled.
Right.
And it was this big struggle for the whole of Infinity War, and then he's just like in complete control all the time.
Sure.
Yeah.
And I think that like with that, for one, there's only so much time in a movie, but I also do feel like they spent an extensive amount of time on other things that maybe didn't matter. So like, you know, if you wanted to take something here and use that time, squash it down and allow it to be like Hulk's arc sort of like making more sense or like walking us to it a little bit more, that would have been fine. But I do think realistically what they were trying to do with that was show 5 years have passed, and for some people it has been a good thing, and for some people it has been a bad thing.
That for sure has been the case. Yeah. But
so
you're right. Like Hulk just didn't have much of an arc himself in the movie.
Right.
Like his like whole thing, character growth happens just in those 5 years.
Right.
And you're not like privy to it, which is, it's okay. There's so many characters and that's not like a huge deal to me.
Sure.
But
okay,
yeah.
So then the other one where I thought that they had taken like an arc that I had been very like into was Thor. And Thor was a character that like the Thor movies came out and I like the Thor movies just fine. I mean, you know, it's whatever. And then Ragnarok was sort of like, it catapults like to the top and you're just like, oh my god, Thor's so cool. And then like Infinity War, you see him just become like, you understand Thor's power on a whole new level. Like,
right.
He takes the blast of the star, he shows up and he like changes the tide of the battle in Wakanda. Like, he's so awesome and I became like huge Thor fan. Like,
Big
I was Thor
fan.
for Halloween last year.
Right.
Like, you know, it was like, I really like bit hard and like, you know, like really became
the Thor mug.
I became like the Thor fanboy. With this, and they introduce him, and he's sort of like just let it all go.
Just like frat Hulk, the dude.
And you know, like there is
not Hulk, frat Thor, the dude. Yeah,
right?
Sorry.
Yeah, like the dude was the big thing.
Yeah, they literally
like,
call him Lebowski.
Lebowski,
yeah.
right? And you're like, yeah. And so like the rest of the movie, he's just like always unkempt and wearing sunglasses, and he's like not in control of anything, and like. I know that there was the scene with his mom that, like, is intended to be powerful.
Right, like, she sobers him up and gives him purpose again and is like, you're not a failure, everyone's a failure, and, you know, whatever.
Right. But, like, even that, it just didn't resonate with me. And then, like, he never, like, at the end, I think, like, when he, like, goes, you know, full, like, both hammers, or the hammer and the axe at the same time, and he's like, lightning god of all lightning gods, I'm like, oh, he's gonna be back to him, though.
Right.
And, no. That's not really how it is. And even by the end of the movie, he's like passing over the
leadership of Asgard.
And she's like, "What will you do?" And he's like, "I don't know.
Got to ride."
And then we watch 5 minutes of the Peter Quill Thor like thing left over from Infinity
War. I thought it was
War.
funny.
I was like, I get it. They both think they're the leader. Like. Oh, it just, like, it crushed me a little bit.
Did it?
Yeah, like...
Okay.
And I'm sorry, I'm going to stop talking about things, because I think I've manifested... You talk. Let's celebrate
All
for
right,
a minute.
well, I guess let's just start from the beginning of the movie.
Okay.
Right, so we open on Hawkeye at the very beginning, and I thought that was a really strong opening scene.
Oh my gosh,
I
thought it was spectacular.
Yeah, because you sort of like, where was Hawkeye? Like, he's like one of the originals. He wasn't in the first one, and like they don't explain what his little ankle bracelet was. I don't think, but
well, I think he was just also on house arrest.
Okay,
like yeah, I think that is the whole. That's the story.
It doesn't need much of an explanation, but
right.
Yeah, and so like they start you and you see him with the kids, and like you already know what's gonna happen, and you're just like, oh no, and then it's such a happy day, and then it happens, and you're like, oh, and then he just snaps. I mean, I felt like they were trying to like pull the up move on you. We're like,
right.
hey, you were excited to see this movie, now cry.
Yeah. Who puts mayonnaise on a hot dog? Now I have tears on my hot dog. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I thought it was an incredibly powerful way to start the movie and get you like right back in.
We're like, all right, this is what we're fighting for. Cool. And then they bring you right into the fight. They're like, okay, Tony's back. He's a little crazy. He's been stuck in space for 3 weeks. He's lost all hope, and he's starving and super skinny. Great. Scary. And they figure out where Thanos is, and you're like, let's go get him. Boom. They're there. We're getting him.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so like in the setup, like with the, you know, he used the snap again, and then like you there was like a little bit of like a wondering like, why? Like that like almost isn't in keeping with Thanos until you figure out what he's done was destroy the stones, which oh my gosh, like talk about Thanos just being a freaking compelling villain.
Oh yeah.
Like he gets the master of all weapons, and what does he call it? Temptation.
Yeah, he's like it's so I love Thanos' arc in this movie because he starts out and he dies with like 100% conviction that he's done the right thing, that he made the hard choice, that like I did it. I don't want to rule. I don't want, like, that was it. That was my goal. I did it. I need to make sure. This is tempting me. Even this isn't okay.
Right.
I will snap the stones away. Nearly kills him. And then he comes back. Like, they confront him and he's, like, angry that they're not appreciating him.
Right.
But at the same time, he's like, it doesn't matter. Like, it's over.
Right.
You know?
Right.
I destroyed the stones. I'm sorry. you're mad at me, but everyone will thank me in the end.
Right.
And then I aim for the head.
Right, yeah.
That was like the first of like many, many, many little payoffs this movie gives you.
And there's no doubt about it. If there's one thing that this movie did spectacular was like the build up to so many like fantastic like, oh, he said it.
So like, the thing, and the thing I thought they did masterfully, and I'm sure tons of people are going to disagree on the wider internet, is normally when they do a lot of that stuff, it feels very fan servicey.
Yes.
But I didn't feel like that was the case at all
in
this movie. It always felt to me like that's what the characters would say. That's what the characters would act with each other. They would call back to these funny little lines and
right. Oh,
yeah.
and like Cap mocking himself when Cap's fighting
oh
Cap.
my gosh.
And he's like, I can do this all day. It's like, yeah, I
know.
know.
Oh my gosh. I love that one.
It's like he's annoyed with his own
I know. He's like,
nobility
I get it. I know. All right. Just shut up. I'm trying to do a thing here.
Right.
Stop being so noble. I'm being noble.
Right. No, so there were many just like absolutely fantastic moments where it was like, yes, they did the thing. Like the on your left at the final battle
that
scene.
one didn't even hit me until this morning. I woke up and was like, on your left. And I was like, oh, that was from Winter Soldier, right? How did I forget that?
Yes, yeah. So you've got like, basically he keeps running by Falcon and
on your left. Don't you say it.
Don't you say it. But this time it's like, I got your back.
On your left. And they open the portal and they all go through. You're like, oh my god, that's amazing.
So backtracking, because it's gonna be so easy to hop all over the place with this one.
It is.
So, okay. What are your feelings when the words time travel are said for the first time in this movie?
I mean, one of the...
Exactly.
Well, so here's the thing. Like, I didn't, going into the movie, like, I think from when, like, as we were analyzing everything ahead of time and making all these videos, I think what you and I were really trying to do was come up with every solution that wasn't time travel.
Exactly.
Yeah. And then Scott comes back because a rat steps on a button. Happy accident. Where were you on that?
Furious. I was like, are you okay? It takes one button. That's it. One button. Like they put the entirety of the van into like this closed-in storage unit somewhere. Like,
and it was still on the whole time.
Nobody accidentally hit the button. What powered it? Like, you would think the batteries would be dead by now. Yeah. So
honestly, I was like, I get it. Scott needs to come back. I don't really care. But
and that's ultimately what it comes down to for me. It was sort of like I felt a little bit like undercut by it, where it was like, okay. And I think really what made it worse for me is that it was the way that they ultimately explained time travel. So it's like he's only been in there for 5 hours, but like 5 years have gone by. So like for him, it's been like kind of an inconvenient day. For the rest of the world, it's been like.
Right. Like you've been dead for 5 years.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So that was the big thing for me. And like with the time travel, it's like I think they explain it in the movie, and this is where like I think that I'm at the mercy of only having seen it one time. Because I do feel like they go through and they explain the way that it will ultimately make sense once you better understand it. But like time travel is complicated to understand.
It is, and this is why like I liked the scene where they're sort of addressing every other time travel movie and they're like making fun of Scott for not understanding time travel.
Right.
And they're like, you can tell like the writers ahead of time are just like, okay, we're doing time travel, but here's the problem. Is that we're gonna do a bunch of things and then all the complaints about the movie are gonna be, that's not how time travel works. If they went back, wouldn't the butterfly effect take effect? And if Loki escaped, then why wouldn't all the events of everything else that happened? And like you can tell they're up front, they're just like, no, the way you think about time travel, that's not how it works. That is not how it works. That's not how it works. Please don't mention the butterfly effect. Please don't say, oh, but Loki escaped. Then how did the Dark Elves happen? And how did Ragnarok happen if he got out with the Ted? Like, don't say that. That's not how it happens. That's not how it works.
Right.
And like, I like that they're like really trying to be very clear about that.
I agree.
And like they're presenting, I don't know if like a different kind of time travel, but like, a version of time travel that allows for what they want to happen. And I thought they did a pretty good job of explaining it. I can't even recreate it because I bet it took them a week to write the sentence the Hulk tells. And he's like, no, because your present self goes into the past. That's your future. And you're like, okay, so it's not really like they're going into the past. The way I was trying to like reconcile it in my mind is that they're not really going into the past. Like, they're not starting on the line and going here. Really, they're continuing to move forward in their present, and they're sort of like bringing
the past
to themselves in like a side pocket, sort of. I don't know.
Right. Well, and that is the question, and that's like where things do get like really confusing as to like what the implications are. So like Loki gets the Tesseract and leaves.
Yeah.
So like, does that open up a door for Loki then to return sometime in the future?
Oh, absolutely.
Right. But like,
yeah.
So it is weird, I guess, to me how it doesn't ultimately damage the effects of the past. And I think with me, even knowing that time travel came into play, I was like, oh, this is going to make so much more sense in Infinity War, how like, when Thanos arrives on Thor's ship, what does he say? Is like, destiny has arrived, or should I say, me?
Yeah.
You know, it's like, if ultimately this course of events tells us how Thanos ultimately knows he's going to succeed, so like
he's just like operating with complete confidence the whole time.
Right.
Yeah.
And even when Thanos, like the last thing Thanos says before Thor cuts his head off is sort of like, I was inevitable.
Oh yeah,
and so
yeah, I am inevitable.
Right, and so it's like, if you know that Thanos knows due to the course of the events of this movie that this was always going to be where it was going to end up, and no matter what had happened, he was always going to have that event.
Yeah.
Then like, that helps bring it into focus because you're like, oh, that's how he knew who Tony Stark was, because
I
he
kept
has
thinking
interacted with Tony.
Well, yeah, so at the end when Tony does the snap, and I kept thinking they're going to send Thanos back because then that Thanos will operate knowing sort of everything that's going to happen.
Sure.
Like, he's seen the future. He knows he still has to hunt the stones down, do the snap. He'll die, and then this version of himself will come here and kind of continue the event.
Right.
But that's when he meets Tony Stark, and he's like, you know who I am? And he's like, I do. And
right.
you're like, oh, you do, because you know future Tony is going to win the day,
right.
even though you're going to win this day.
Right.
But
even
not how
that
it goes.
would have given, I feel like, Thanos an even more incredibly compelling arc, because he would ultimately know at the end of all the battles that he loses, but that like he has to march on because the ultimate culmination of all of those things is the best case scenario for everyone. You know, like, so it would even be interesting if he's like, I know that my mission is absolute because it allows them to execute their mission, which allows everything to ultimately get to the point where it has to be.
Right.
But I don't know. I mean,
they still reverse what he wants, though.
Right, I know.
So
yeah.
there's that. And so you could say, like, that would have been nice if it had made this full circle loop for Thanos. It would have, like, gone against their own rules of time travel at the same time, I think.
Right.
I'll have to think about that a lot more.
Right.
But it was like, I kept thinking that's what the explanation was going to be, and then it wasn't. It was like, it still works. It's still fine. What I really sort of liked was how they went about de-sympathizing Thanos throughout the movie. So like, you open and like we already talked about, he has this 100% conviction, just like, I did it, it's done, my mission is complete, nothing else matters.
Right.
You know, but then when past Thanos sees future Thanos die, he's sort of like, he hasn't like, you know, matured over whatever those 5 years or whatever.
Sure.
I don't know like what would change so much, but all of a sudden he's like, no, I recognize now. Like, I will not be seen as the hero I know that I am. And so it's not about killing half. I'm just going to rebuild entirely.
Right.
And like, then you're like, oh, now you've gone from like logical, optimist, fair, cool, smart guy to just like, I want to rule and kill everyone and I'll start over and no one can blame me because they won't have been around to remember everyone died.
Right, you won't be there to tell them.
Yeah.
And that's what he even says. He's like, it was never personal in the past. I was never doing it like to attack these people. I was doing it like to correct. And he's like, this one's personal. It's on. And then like, that is where this movie to me triumphs in the most fantastic of ways. Like, that battle is absolutely
amazing.
Nuts. Like, all the way through, absolutely incredible. Like, there are so many insane, powerful moments that happen. Like, it's just the battle between Cap and Thanos. Oh my god! Like, there's so much I have to say about that. I don't even know how to get there because there's like 40 layers.
I was like, so as you're watching the movie, one of the things I really appreciated about this movie was its very defined like structures. It does a very clear Act 1. Hey, that everyone's suffering. Let's get the team back together. Let's form a plan.
Right.
And then like Act 2 begins. They go on the time heist.
Right.
And that's all of Act 2. And they're all getting the stones and having hijinks in the back there. I love the name Time Heist.
Oh yeah, I know. That was a fun
Dude.
way to like incorporate like Scott's like just ness
Yeah.
into the movie.
Oh man,
Yeah.
I feel like they gave Scott a lot of time, a lot of extra screen time, and I was just like, man, Paul Rudd is so funny.
Oh my gosh,
Like,
literally.
he's so funny.
Oh my gosh. Okay, I have Ant-Man. We got a lot of him. Love Paul Rudd. Too much, maybe?
No.
So that's so funny that you say that because I was like, we're really seeing a lot of Ant-Man.
Ant-Man. Yeah. And then Act 3 begins as soon as Hulk snaps, and then you're like, the rest of it's just gonna be the battle.
Right.
You're like, because the first part I was like, not a lot has happened yet. Like we've been watching this movie for like an hour, but of course it's like a 3-hour movie, and like okay, here we go.
Sure.
And then we get into the hijinks, and then oh my gosh, though the freaking battle, like, so good. First of all, let me just say, maybe my favorite character in the movie is Nebula. Like,
oh yeah.
Her story arc, just from beginning of Guardians through this movie, has just been awesome to watch. How she starts as this just like totally mean person, and then like my favorite part of Guardians 2 is all the scenes with her and Gamora in the cave.
Sure.
Where they're just like fighting each other and also sort of bonding and like saving each other, but then trying to kill each other, and they're like, oh, why are we doing this?
Right.
Yeah. Like, do I hate you or do I love you? I don't know.
Right.
Yeah.
But like with that, you get the immense stark contrast between like reformed Nebula and old Nebula.
Yeah.
Oh, and the moment, this is like throwing back to like the very opening scene, but like Tony playing paper football with Nebula is
oh my
like,
god, how can I talk about that?
Oh my, like I get chills like literally just talking about it, but like it is so impactful, both because you know Tony is like having this yearning to become a parent, and you know that Nebula has wanted nothing more than to be a father figure.
Right,
Or
and he
to
says
have a
like,
father figure.
fair game, and she's just like, nothing's been fair in my entire life.
Right,
And like
right.
this little game of paper football in space has been like this like speck of gold in her entire life.
Exactly.
Like,
It's
no,
like
what is this?
It's like there are no games, there's no manipulation. Like
Yeah,
they're passing the time, and she is like just as allowed to win as him, and the rules aren't weird.
Yeah,
and like
I'm not gonna replace part of your body.
Right. So
Yeah.
that's like for me, I was like my eyes like definitely
Yeah.
welled up immediately. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, that is such a cool scene.
I love Nebula's whole arc. I love that it didn't even like, it felt totally believable to me that when she goes into the past, all of a sudden like her two selves start like syncing up via whatever network she's connected to.
Oh sure.
And then like, that's how Thanos finds out. And it was just like anytime, like as soon as they capture new reformed Nebula, anytime they cut to Thanos, like me and Beth are just sitting like, oh my god, no, he's gonna figure it out, no. It's just, like, it's like, it's rare that a movie really like makes you feel this like oncoming dread, but every time, because like the event, like they've got a plan and it's working, and some of them are getting the stones, and then it's like, no, Thanos is gonna figure it out too. What's happening? This is so terrible. No.
Oh, it's crazy, and even that throws back to that line from Infinity War, like where she shows up on Titan, she's like, "You should have killed me," and he's like, "It would have been a waste of parts," and it's like, "Oh, because the parts are so important." Like, it becomes such a player.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That was So I love and then boy, I don't know how that whole ship fit through the little time machine.
Yeah. It was a big ship. It was a big ship.
Yeah. Big ship. Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh. But like, so I guess like coming back to the battle again, there's like, so you've got the snap, and the snap corrects. So Hulk snaps and corrects the population thing.
Right.
And so now all of a sudden everybody, it sounds like the way that like Peter explains it is basically like, I must have passed out because like, I didn't know.
I woke up and then Dr. Strange was like, 5 years have passed.
Right.
Yeah.
So like you sort of get like the explanation that like for them, it doesn't sound like a whole lot of time. Like they haven't experienced
the time.
Right.
They were just sort of like.
Right. Yeah. They weren't like in limbo or something. Yeah.
That's what I thought, that they were going to sort of exist in some sort of limbo, and they'd have like experienced the time passing. But it sounds like they just poofed away, and that was it.
And then came right back, and it was like, we're still fighting the same guy.
Yep.
It's been one heck of a day. I'm ready for some sleep.
Yeah, probably.
Where was I going with this? Yeah, trying to walk myself back through that battle because the tides changed
people
in that
come back.
battle
Yeah.
so many times. Yeah, so many times where it's like they're winning and they're losing, then they're winning, then they're losing.
When did you realize, all the other heroes are alive again?
Oh, I mean, I think basically immediately, but like the big issue with it is you don't know what the implication is because you don't know what the world has been like for those who got snapped away.
Right.
And so like I guess that's like where it was really good that they kind of gave you like the Peter line, so you're sort
Yeah.
of like, oh, okay, that's what happened.
I love how like Peter, it's of course he's like, oh, it's so weird. He has to explain this tiny little thing.
Right, right.
It's like it's okay. We'll talk about it later.
Right.
Yeah.
But like Peter and Tony reuniting
Oh
was
my
another
gosh.
like moment that like I mega was
Oh,
like,
man.
you know, just
There was-
like sobbing.
There were so many fun reunitings. Hold on, I wrote down a few here. So yeah, I loved Scarlet Witch fighting Thanos.
Yes.
That was great. She just pops up. He's like, you took everything from me. And he's like, I don't even know who you are. He's like, well, you're gonna.
Right,
And then
right.
she basically wins.
Oh, yeah,
Like, she
yeah.
has, I think, the most successful fight with him of anyone in the movie. Right there, right?
Possibly. I mean,
She's gonna kill him, and then he like brings the fire from the ship.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, and so this is where, right, because yeah, he says it like as she's like got him
Yeah.
up in the air and like the red, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
But this is what these guys have done so spectacularly with every single character that fights Thanos one-on-one is just letting everyone showcase what full turbo max powers look like.
Looks like.
At all times, and that has been really cool.
It has been very good
to see everybody kind of go down.
Yeah.
Oh, and then what did you think about like Thor and him going into battle, and Thanos has got like the axe against him?
Oh boy!
In the exact same way.
The exact callback where he's pressing the axe into his chest this time.
Right.
Yeah, that was pretty. Because that Thanos wouldn't even know that what had happened to the first Thanos.
Right.
Yeah. So that was pretty interesting. Oh, that was the moment. My favorite moment of the whole movie is when Cap calls Mjolnir to him.
Oh, that is my favorite moment of all of the MCU.
Oh my god! You just like you see it moving, you're like, what? You think, of course, you think Thor's calling it to him,
right,
to himself, and it's gonna like hit him in the back of the head, and then it's like, whoop! Ah! It's like our whole theater cheered that, like, yes,
and
oh, that was the payoff. I have always, I don't know why I feel like I've had such a hard time convincing people that Cap could lift the hammer. Because in Ultron, people are like, I think he could almost lift it. He was almost really. Like, my interpretation of the moment in Ultron when Cap goes to pick up the hammer is he immediately is aware, I can pick it up, but he's, like, too nice to, like, show off in front of Thor.
Right, like, all it would do is undercut Thor inside of that moment.
Right.
Like, all it would do is just prove that something that makes Thor incredibly unique is shared by someone else.
Right, so like he's just like, it's fine. Like, I could do it, but I'm gonna let him have his thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Which is totally in character with Captain America. But then it's like, okay, because even when he called Mjolnir to him on Asgard, it was sort of like, but you already have the better weapon now. Like, why are you taking this one?
Yeah.
I
had the same thought too, where it was like, do we need that?
Yeah, like cool, but then I see.
Right,
even better.
That's where
that was such a cool man. Cause the Cap Thanos fight is so great because like you see them coming up, Iron Man and Thor and Cap all are coming up to Thanos at the same time, and I'm sort of just like, all right, I've already seen Iron Man go one-on-one with Thanos, and that was pretty awesome. I know he can hold his own, and we know Thor can hold his own, but, like, I don't know if Cap's gonna have quite the same prowess in this fight.
Right.
And then he pulls the hammer, and you're like, oh, okay, yeah, it's on.
Right.
All of a sudden, he's the best fighter.
Well, and so, the other thing, and I don't know why this wouldn't have, like, gone 2 and 2 in my mind, but, like, he's also got, like, the thunder powers then, too.
Yeah, well, of course, yeah.
I mean, and that's supposed to be what comes with Mjolnir, but, like, in my mind, I'm like, oh, now he's got, like, a really powerful weapon, but, like, I don't know why I didn't also assume that, like, he would, also get the lightning powers with it.
My almost is like, shouldn't he have the cape? Shouldn't the cape have come on?
Oh, my God. That would have been crazy.
That would have, like, but, like, when Thor picks up the hammer, that's what happens, like, all the armor and cape, I'm like, I don't know.
Right.
Yeah.
But so there's a lot of like really cool that happens with that though, and I'm even having trouble remembering at what point in the battle this happens. But like we see the shield fall apart.
Oh,
like
boy, that's a pretty crazy moment.
And so in my mind, I immediately went back to that scene in Age of Ultron where Tony has like the vision and the shield is broken in half.
Yeah,
and it's like, oh no, like and so as it breaks, I'm like, they're gonna lose.
Right.
Like, that's what happens. Like,
We're
about to see.
It summoned that exact image to my mind as well.
Right.
And just like, because even Tony even references the image,
right,
the vision he had.
but like the visual storytelling that's going on there, it's like you've got this shield cut in half, which is like exactly what the snap was all about. Was like half of all existence.
Right.
But we're whole again. Like
Right.
and that's sort of like the prelude to all of the guys coming back.
Yeah.
You know, and again the tide shifting in the battle.
Yeah, that was one of those trailer edits where like in the trailers you could see him tightening the shield back on his strap.
Right.
But in the trailer it's the whole shield.
The whole
when he does
shield.
it in the movie it's just the half shield.
Right.
Boy. But yeah, when he gets back up again, oh that was pretty great. You're just like, yeah, no one ever keeps Cap down.
Right. Did you think he was gonna say it again?
I did not. I was like, don't say it again. You already did it.
I know, and that was my thought too. I was like, don't do it.
I know.
Don't do it. This is such a good moment.
Yeah, I know. Like, it's fine. We all get it. You can do this all day, man.
Right. You stood back up. That's what I meant.
That's the thing. Like, they made that joke earlier, and they made it like a funny thing. But then when he gets up, like, that's all you're thinking about.
It's true.
It's like,
true.
They set it up very well. I liked. He finally says, "Avengers Assemble." Too,
right.
Right before the fight. That was amazing.
Yeah.
I don't have. Has he actually said it?
I don't know.
I think they end Avengers 1 with him saying Avengers, and then they cut to credit, and you know he's gonna say Assemble.
Sure.
Maybe that's right. I don't know.
Right.
But
okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Oh man. Let's see. Oh gosh. We haven't talked about. Let's see. Who haven't we talked about yet? Black Widow.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Oh,
So
man.
we can talk
Big moment.
Black Widow and Clint. Okay. Another criticism from
Yes.
me. I totally think it should have been Clint.
Oh yeah.
Like 100%. This was this moment, like, and it was interesting to watch. These two are so clearly equally matched to each other. Like, they are both as good as the other. And I even remember in Civil War, there's the moment like where they're fighting, and I think Scarlet Witch steps in and she's like, "You were holding your punches," or whatever. Like Clint was like, I guess, not attacking as hard as he could, and I'm sure like Black Widow also wasn't. Because they're just such good friends.
Right.
But they're like on opposing sides or whatever. So that scene, like, where they kept twisting it, where like one of them would disable the other, and then the other one do this, and then like one of them jumps, and you're like, oh, that's it, no, that's it. Like, it was so crazy because it kept changing. But there are the two arguments. Like, Clint has the family element, and so there's sort of this idea that like maybe that's why he's the one that like needed to be able to get back, because maybe there's more for him back. But at the same rate, Tony also has a family, and we also see Tony go down, which is something we talk about later.
But this is about choosing to die. Like, which one of us should die? You have a family, I don't.
Okay, let me counter with, what on earth is the point of the Ronin situation, if not for it to have incriminated Clint enough to where he should have died?
I think the point of the Ronin situation is basically what we said earlier, where some people are doing okay and some people are not. And there's this big theme throughout the front half of the movie about like hope and hopelessness.
Sure.
Like where he's like, "Don't give me hope," and she's like, I love her line. She's like, I wish I could have brought it to you sooner." Like she's like, I thought she was gonna say like too late, but she's like, now don't, like, that line. He's like, "Don't bring me hope," and her response isn't just like, "No, you need hope." It's just like, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. I wish I could have brought it to you sooner. I'm not sad at all.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
You need it, buddy.
And it's powerful, and their relationship is powerful in a lot of ways. Like, I do think like it resonates with you, and you can tell like how impactful and important they are to each other.
I think I disagree. I think it should have been Black Widow, because that's sort of like her arc for this. Like, what's the point of, like, otherwise it feels like, oh, we went and saved Clint just so he could die here, so that Black Widow didn't have to die.
But it's not that it didn't have to die. Like, I think that's my situation with the Ronin problem, is that, like, he maybe was out there doing what he believed to be right. Mm-hmm. How is that any different from Thanos?
I mean, maybe it's not.
Right. But like, so I think that, like, they took Clint into a place where it's like, I don't think I'm as comfortable with him returning as, like, a family man again, despite what has happened in the wake of all of this.
Yeah. Well, I think that was his argument for himself dying. Like, he feels that way too.
Sure, and I agree with him.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well.
So I think that, I mean, it's fine to agree to disagree, but, like, to me, that was, like, the battle there, and I guess it, like what it came down to for me was just the thinking, like, we spent a lot of time on this Ronin topic. It doesn't really super pay out in any other way.
Not really. It's just it's really more just demonstrative of how bad some people are taking it.
Right.
Yeah.
Which I think is fair, and I think that it's well put together. But, you know, between the two of them, Nat never gave up. Clint immediately gave up. And
right. Well, it's just like the redemption story then, I guess, is more. I don't know. I didn't like when Clint goes and makes that jump, like, against the sunset. Like, it's such a cool cinematic shot that, like, I felt like they stole that from him when she then jumps off the edge and, like, saves him.
Oh, sure.
I was just like, give someone the shot with the slow motion jump and let that be it.
Right.
We didn't need a final last second. You know, if it's going to be Black Widow, then just let her do the jump. And, yeah, I don't know.
Right. There is something that I'm curious about, and this is nothing more than, like, the inkling of a thought for a theory. The way that Gamora and Nat's bodies are positioned when they hit the bottom of Vormir, I don't know, but it reminds me of the configurations of the Eternals. Like their body shapes seem to be like forming that same thing. And so there is a part of me that is curious whether or not there is not something bigger happening with those sacrifices that that comes later.
That like Gamora and Black Widow have now both become like eternal in some way because they were traded for the Soul Stone. Okay, this is a weird, like, I know they don't need to explain it, but I also feel like this is a huge thing that's going to start exploding across the internet, is after everything is good and done and over, Cap returns all the stones to exactly where they got them from, right?
Right.
Okay, so like, what a wacky journey he must have had on this all of a sudden.
Oh, right, yeah.
Because let's think about what happens then. The Reality Stone, first of all, they had to get it back to Aether, right? And that means if you're Jane Foster, what happened to you in the last 10 seconds was a raccoon broke into your room, sucked it out of you, you sent the guards after the raccoon, and then immediately after, Captain America walks in on Asgard for some reason and puts it back in you.
Right.
That's what happened. Steve had to go back to Jane Foster and inject the Aether back into her.
Right.
Right? That's what happened.
That's what happened. I mean, I guess. And this is, again, where, like, I don't know exactly what the rules of time travel are in this particular situation and how much you have to set the record right.
Yeah.
Or the record straight in order for everything to then come to pass in such a manner.
I think it's just, just put it right back to where it was. I don't know. But other things, the Tesseract that took as a cube.
Right.
So, one, I don't know how they got the cube off of it. Thanos just, like, crushes it. But, then, two, they would have had to put it back in a cube, right? To go back in time and, like, put it back in S.H.I.E.L.D.
Right.
Don't know how they did that. Don't know how they put it back in the Scepter for the Mind Stone.
Right.
Whatever. That's weird. And then, for the Soul Stone, that means Captain America has to go to Vormir.
Where Red Skull
is.
Right.
And, like, last he met Red Skull, the Infinity Stone, sent him to Vormir. And now, basically, how do you give the Soul Stone back?
Right.
You know? Is it like, is he going to give it to Red Skull?
Right,
As far as Red Skull is concerned, like, I'm the Guardian, but he doesn't actually have it.
Right.
You know? To me, it's like, he must have given, like, to me, what happened is Red Skull now has the Soul Stone and is going to leave Vormir and be a villain again.
Oh, interesting.
That's what I think.
Interesting.
Similar to Loki. So, in my mind, only 2 Infinity Stones still exist.
Unless
and they are
the
Space Stone and the Soul Stone.
Okay.
Held by Loki and Red Skull.
Okay.
That's what I think.
It'll be interesting to see, or what happens if, like, in order to get the Soul Stone, you have to make a great sacrifice, but how could you return the Soul Stone?
Right.
Will there
like,
be any
once you have it, can anyone just have it?
Right.
Because it's like, how do you return? Yeah, I don't know how you return it.
Super strange. So, backtracking in the opposite direction of that, what were your thoughts on Gauntlet 2.0?
First thought is that it is an enormous plot point in Infinity War that Thanos can't make the Gauntlet until Asgard is destroyed. Like, that's the point of the movie Ragnarok, is that Asgard is destroyed, and now it's like, oh, no more Asgard? That means no more protection on Nidavellir, which means I can finally go force them to make me the Gauntlet, which means I can really, in earnest, start personally collecting the stones. Right? So, that's, because it's the mechanism of how he makes the Gauntlet, it's like, that's what's holding him in check for so long.
Right.
And so in this one, they're just like, we made one. Like, wait a minute.
And that was.
Are you?
I think I took some issue with that because they do play this sort of like, Tony's super smart, surely he can make one.
Yeah.
But again, it goes back to like my love for Thor and like that moment when he like holds open, you know, the I don't even know what it is, the way that the star injects heat.
Oh my gosh,
you know?
I know. It's like Thor has to go through all, I mean, he's not making the gauntlet there, but presumably the same amount of power went into making the gauntlet because it was at the dwarf's star thing.
Right. It's sort of
Excuse
like
me.
if you think of all weapons within the MCU, everything made on Nidavellir is like times 10.
Right.
It's like it's in a level completely by itself, and the things that exist from there are Mjolnir, Stormbreaker, and the Gauntlet.
And so they just made. Now, I guess you could argue maybe it doesn't work as well. Like,
Sure.
Hulk has a really hard time putting it on. Tony doesn't. I don't know.
Right.
It's hard to tell. It seems like it hurts Hulk, but that could. It's like, is that? Yeah. So it's weird that they put it together, and I almost wish like
You've like and for the past minute straight.
I'm sorry. I wish like Shuri had maybe been there, or someone from Wakanda who could be like, vibranium is a, you know,
Oh, sure.
sort of thing. Because like, did they have vibranium? Maybe like that would have been a suitable solution to me. Or if maybe you found out Nidavellir like it was made of vibranium, and that's how we're doing this sort of stuff.
Sure.
But I don't even think that's true. It's made at like. It's like uru or something. Is the metal?
There is a term for the metal. Yeah.
Yeah.
So no, that's interesting too. Yeah,
Yeah.
like how that came to pass. That was one of those where it's like, do we just take this at face value? Like,
Yeah, it's just like this is like one of those things that's like, I know the whole internet's going to point it out 1,000 times over. And it's like, I don't really care because whatever. The point is they had a gauntlet. They had a fight over it. That's the point. But it is like a minor sticking point.
Sure.
The other thing is, what are the rules about individual people holding the stones? Because, like, again, like, a big part of Guardians of the Galaxy, like, the whole movie is that at the end, like, Peter is able to hold the single stone, like, with the help of everyone, and they use it to defeat Ronan. In this one, there are multiple times where, like, people are just holding them individually.
Sure.
Like, Clint is holding the Soul Stone. It's like, maybe the Soul Stone lets whoever makes the sacrifice hold it. And I was like, okay, that can work. And then the Ancient One hands Hulk the Time Stone. You're like, maybe because he's Hulk, he can hold it.
Right.
You know, but
it's
they're really
a little
iffy.
fast and loose with it,
Yeah.
and there is that moment, even going back again to Infinity War, where Ebony Maw makes a comment as he gets the Tesseract and turns it into the Space Stone, where he's like, you know, you are the first to hold not just one but two Infinity Stones, and it's like that's a moment that sort of also demonstrates like Thanos' power and sort of like his resilience and capability of like wielding, you know, something that others just simply are unable to.
Right. And I mean, it's not, they do still sort of play by those rules. Like, it does injure the Hulk when he does the snap, and it does kill Tony when he does the snap. So it's like, they're not ignoring it. It's not just like, you can't do it. And I think at the same rate, the fact that Tony is even able to put it on is supposed to be like, oh, Tony is of the extreme power. Like, he is worthy. It kind of like, to me, mirrored the moment where Cap takes the hammer. It's like, oh, see, like, these people are like elevated. They've like in some way earned the respect of these, I don't know, whatever,
of the
forces.
objects.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that there's certainly something to be said for that. That's a perfectly good way to look at it, is that like what we are seeing is that each of these characters are like more powerful than simply just being humans, even if they are just simply humans.
Right.
So anyway, okay, so moving on, I feel like the movie ends with our 6 Avengers places, like the original 6.
Yeah.
How do you feel about where they leave you with everyone, and like what are the like potential implications? Is there anything to like take away from these moments?
Let's see. Well, so Tony's dead. That's one.
Right.
Like that, I feel like had to happen. I really thought it was gonna be Cap, but it wasn't. But I like the way they handled that too. So Tony's dead. I don't think we're gonna like, obviously his wife Pepper joins the fight as Rescue.
Rescue
maybe
is I think
unconfirmed.
the comic book
That's
name.
the name when she's in the comic. I think the main thing is either that we'll see more like recorded projections or some sort of AI version of him in the future.
Sure.
Or else definitely maybe down the line after Morgan Stark grows up, she will sort of assume the Iron Man kind of role.
Right.
Because they sort of alluded to that a little bit. She's wearing the mask at one point. Cap, I loved his. I really loved his.
Well, and so the aging up that they did on Chris Evans was nuts.
Oh my God! Yeah,
that was spectacular.
Props to the makeup artist or CGI artist or whatever it was. Both, I don't know.
Right? Yeah,
that was amazing.
They are making massive strides in that technology.
Yes, they are. I mean, it was all over this movie too.
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
it was
in a big way, like with Howard Stark and with Hank Pym and all them. But
right. You see a lot of it.
You see a lot of it. He passes the shield to.
Oh.
Yeah.
Don't even get me started on the passing of the shield.
Didn't like it?
Oh my God, if there was anything I was more furious about in this movie is the passing of the shield to Falcon?
I mean, otherwise it's the Bucky, right?
No, it's the neither. Give it back to Pepper, and my vision for it is at some point in time, Morgan emerges, and this goes back to the Civil War feud and the competing ideals and the perfect blending of both Iron Man and Cap is that you were supposed to have a Morgan Stark character who is the medley of Iron Man and Cap.
Right.
And Howard Stark made the shield and it goes back to the Stark family and she has both the shield and the armor.
Right. I mean, it could still happen.
Oh, I was so upset with it. The passing of that baton to me made absolutely no sense whatsoever. I was I have never been a huge fan of Falcon's character as the sidekick, the buddy. He's never had any kind of superhuman anything. He's got military grade wings.
Yeah, basically.
And it's
and he's good at using them.
And he's good at using them. And I think that that's fine.
Yeah, but he doesn't have a superpower backup like that Cap does.
Right. And they've just never given him much of an arc. He's always just sort of an echo of whatever Cap's belief is.
Right, he's just sort of helping.
Right.
Yeah.
He never really argues with Cap. He's never
so we'll see how I'm interested to see how it goes. To me, the one I would have been, I think, more on your Fury level had it not been Sam who was the one who was the first one who spoke to Cap at the battle, because I don't know why, but when he says on your left and then they all walk in, you're oh, they're back, it almost made it feel like he was the one leading them back in, even though T'Challa walks through first. But
sure.
That I don't know, to me that helped. And then they did give him a really good moment where his wings come in and stab some big giant thing.
Oh yeah,
that was
right.
really cool.
We had one moment.
I know that wasn't enough maybe, but it'll be interesting to see how they do it, because I think Falcon and Bucky are supposed to have a show together on Disney Plus, and so now you'll have the shield and Although my complaint about Bucky for 2 movies in a row now, can we please see him punch something?
Oh sure,
What is the point of this arm if he's just gonna shoot guns?
Right.
What? I don't. Why?
Right, yeah. He's got a vibranium arm. He's got arguably more vibranium at his disposal than the shield.
Yeah, do something besides shoot.
Right.
What's with the guns?
Yeah.
Punch.
It's an odd one. And maybe this is where my ultimate complaint came from the movie. So if I run down my list here, because I feel like we have run a very long time. So I thought the passing of the shield frustrated me a little bit. And I would even say on the Cap Tony front, I've always imagined that Civil War conclusion.
I think you very badly wanted a Civil War conclusion from this movie.
I think I did. Because it is such a big deal, and the two biggest characters are Cap and Tony.
Yeah.
And their feud is so reflected in so many different elements and ideologies, and just if you were going to really empower the Avengers going forward, it would be great to have seasoned leadership behind it. And so I think my thought the whole time was always sort of this Cap once upon a time says the safest hands are still our own, and Tony is more we need to be put in check. And I think I always imagined Cap dying, Tony stepping into that position, and Tony being on a leadership board. And so he is the one putting the Avengers in check, but it still allows the Avengers to be in check by their own hands.
By their own people.
Right.
Yeah. That would have been a nice solution as well.
So I think I'm okay with Cap's resolution, but I think you could have easily swapped those roles and then allowed Tony to have that figurehead position going forward and kind of keep him involved. Nat, I've already expressed, I thought that her and Clint could have been swapped. And otherwise, Clint's return to his family is like, I think, very sentimental, and it expresses this idea that like family and the people around you should matter first and foremost.
Yeah.
Which is great. Bruce, I wasn't sure if they really did give you like a resolution.
Not much. He just sort of talks to Scarlet Witch, and they're both sad that the people they love are completely gone.
Right.
Like I like how they do say like, I tried to bring her back.
Right.
Nat with the snap, and it's just like, no, the Soul Stone knows no bounds.
Right.
Except Gamora, who came back from the past.
Right.
Like that to me was just like, why don't you just go get her from the past, man?
Right. You got the time machine.
You got the time right there.
Yeah.
Like you can't do it.
Right. So that's a potential issue. So again, Tony, and then Thor. I think that was the other thing for me, and maybe this is where my ultimate complaint boils down to is like where everybody is left off, but. It is sort of this moment with Thor, and I don't know if they were leaving a door open for him to be like in Guardians at some point.
I 100% expect Thor to be in Guardians 3.
Yeah?
Yeah,
Do you think it'll start with them working out on a Bowflex? Because that would give me a little bit like more solace.
And he's like in shape now.
Right. Like he's because of the Bowflex.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I would love it.
Okay. I can be on board with that. Yeah,
that'd be so funny. I mean, I think just Thor and Chris Pratt or Star-Lord have such good chemistry on screen, and they're so funny being like
squabbling.
Yeah, squabbling over stupid stuff. Like, of course you are.
Right.
That's so good. He says it like 2 times, and you're like, okay, yeah. Then he like undercuts it.
Right.
I don't know. I don't like that scene. I know you complained about it earlier, but that was fun. I want Thor in Guardians 3. Bring it on. It's gonna be great.
Yeah,
I'm in for that.
I'll do it for the Bowflex scene.
Do it for the Bowflex. So that's how you do it. Let's see. Let's see if there's any other big moments I still want to touch. I feel like we've been going for almost an hour here. I think I've pretty much covered everything I want to talk about, though. What's like your most exciting thing moving forward?
Oh gosh, most exciting thing moving forward is a good question. I am incredibly curious to see, because like this has been this thing where from the start, you weren't aware of the major overarching story that was happening.
Yeah.
Going forward, we will be.
We will be.
And so, like, what they have to do is continue to tell really good, compelling stories, but also everybody's going to expect everything to have long-term implications.
Yeah, I think so. And they're going to have to, like, really balance that out nicely.
Right. And so what I would be fascinated and excited to see is a brand new cast of characters, as far as like, I didn't need the original 6 to maintain as like the future of the MCU. Like I'm so excited to see.
And at least 3 of them are completely gone.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm super excited to see like Peter go on to be like a potential leader, because even within the world that we've been watching it in, we've watched 10 years happen. So like, he could potentially be, 28, 30 years old by the time the next grand big finale happens.
Right.
And, like, that will have given him enough time to go from, like, this high school-age kid who makes a bunch of pop culture references to being, like, the head honcho.
Right.
And he may go on to embody Cap and Iron Man in the way that I wanted it to, because he's the super intelligent but also super noble.
Does Cap throw to him and say, "Hey, Queens"?
Yeah, he does.
That was really funny.
That's awesome.
That was pretty good. So I think let's try and wrap it up.
Yes.
Final thoughts. Do you have like a rating out of 10 or 100, or I don't know how we normally even do it?
Oh my gosh. Okay. I am so immensely mixed about it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I feel like for me, I would give this like an 8.2.
An 8.2
out of 10.
Interesting.
I liked Infinity War better, and like that goes down in its most simplest sense to like when I watched Infinity War, my jaw hung open the whole movie.
Yeah.
I loved every second of it, and it was just like, give me more. Like I don't want it to end. I do think that I walked out of the theater like upset with certain elements of it. I was like, that's not how I imagined it, which is fine.
I feel like that could change over time. Maybe you'll...
And I will say that when I saw Ragnarok, I think I literally turned Ragnarok off the first time I watched it because I was like, man, they're just like diving into the humor too much. So anyway, it's very possible that once I'm more acclimated to it, I could go on to just absolutely love it. And so I will preface with that. That being said, I would say that this movie also contained by far my absolute favorite moments from all of MCU. Like the final battle against Thanos, I think is the coolest battle and the coolest event that we see.
Oh yeah,
throughout
the whole MCU.
Anything. Yes.
That's insane.
So maybe not my highest rated movie, but absolutely contains some of my favorite moments. What about you?
I think I was a little friendlier to the movie than you. I think I did like it more than Infinity War.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I'd probably give it like a solid like 9 out of 10.
Okay.
With just a few minor critiques there. There was a few times, we didn't talk about this at all, where the music they decided to start playing, I just felt like just didn't totally
hit the mark
for me. And I was just like, I don't know what you're doing. Sometimes it did. I loved the Star-Lord scene again where he was just doing his dance thing.
Oh, I know.
Was like, yes!
It was really funny that he was like, we have always seen it with like the music playing overhead, but everybody knows that guy who sings along to a song with headphones on.
Yeah,
and
so
like,
that's exactly
they're
what was
missing
doing.
the key completely, and it's like, oh no.
Yeah, that was really fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, there were a few things, and then just I don't know. There's always room for some improvement, but I immensely enjoyed this movie. I cannot wait to see it again tomorrow.
I know.
Can't wait.
I'm absolutely excited to see it again. I can't wait to get it.
Yeah.
So that we can like carve through it.
Oh, I know. It's gonna be so good. Other little moments I don't think I've mentioned yet. I loved when Spider-Man turned on instant kill mode because that seemed like there was little things that you thought that were just jokes in other movies that they like totally brought back.
Right.
And like so that was one. And he was like, no, why is this even here? And it's like, oh yeah, turn it on.
This is the time. Yeah.
I loved when Cap was like, because like that went around Twitter for like a week where there was the comics or whatever, and then when he said it, we were like, "Oh, you did the thing! I get it. That was really funny," and it like totally works. And they're all like, "What?" And especially because it was also that callback to that really slow-moving elevator scene from
Winter Soldier.
Winter Soldier. That's like such a big fight. So I was like, "Oh, they're gonna redo it? They're gonna do the elevator scene again?"
Oh, and to see Cap say "Hail Hydra," I was like, "Whoa, that's crazy!"
It was so funny.
But totally,
I'm surprised that wasn't just the trailer where he was just like,
Right.
Yeah. One more big thank you to today's sponsor, Vincero Watches. You can go to vincerowatches.com/SCB. Use promo code SCB to get 15% off your order today. Yeah, link is in the description down below. Be sure to check it out. I am absolutely so excited. I hope that you don't all completely hate me after hearing my critiques of this movie, but I am so excited to talk about it more than anything else. Like, I think what it comes down to with movies like this, and especially this movie in particular, is what it represents in the world of just movies, cinema, entertainment. Like, what does this mean for other franchises?
Right, and it is so fun, and I feel like where we source all of our enjoyment of what we do is we get to analyze, we get to talk about it, and we get to celebrate the movies, like above all else. Like, we want to just continue to bring enjoyment. So guys, dying to hear what you thought. Be sure to leave all your thoughts in the towel section down below, and of course try to be as spoiler free outwardly anywhere else as humanly possible.
Yes.
I know with Infinity War it was a phenomenon where people were like, great about it.
Yeah.
Everybody was like super locked in. So super encourage that same kind of behavior.
Yeah. Well, until next time.
Bye.